Hey guys, welcome to another Vlogmas. We are making pie crust for our Shoofly pie. I'm using the recipe that's in the book with the Shoofly pie recipe. It does seem to be a standard pastry, like pie pastry, but the measurements are slightly off compared to my classic pie crust recipe, like when I make apple pie or like any other fruit pie. So I kind of wonder if this is more dense specifically for the Shoofly pie, because Shoofly pie is very liquidy until it bakes through. So it could be that. It could be to keep it from, bringing a leak as it goes in the oven and making a mess. So I always do it by hand. I always do pie crust by hand. I know I have a KitchenAid and it's got, dough hooks and all sorts of things, all sorts of attachments, but for whatever reason, I have never used it for making pie crust. So we're gonna start with 2 cups of all-purpose flour. Well, actually, we'll do it this way. So it says, it does say stir flour and salt together. But what I like to do is actually sift them together. So I'm gonna put my salt. Let me get my salt. So it's 1 teaspoon of salt. So I put that in there. And 2 cups of all-purpose flour. So I'm using unbleached flour, as you know. I don't do the. I like the organic-y stuff. Let me just grab a cup, because all I have is the 1/3 of a cup. Locked and loaded for the. Okay. I'm grabbing the cup, but in hindsight, I'm thinking this might be difficult in the bag, to do with one hand. Maybe I should have grabbed the half a cupper. Might be okay. Shake of the excess in the container. Okay. And then a second cup. Now, I'm going to have to put you down a sec, because this is like an old-fashioned sifter. I inherited this thing. So, the newer fangled ones have the trigger on the handle, so you can sift it and it sifts through, but it's a much smaller container. This is like a old-fashioned commercial size sifter. And I don't really have a place that I can set you down unless I grab maybe if I grab my matcha tea container, I don't know. I don't know where to put you guys. So I'm just gonna put you down while I sift. Let's see. Maybe if I put you on the shortening a little bit. It's not the biggest shortening container, nope. I want to be able to see the thing. Okay. Well, so it has a crank and a handle situation, but I definitely need 2 hands to work it. So I don't have a place to put you guys. So I'm just gonna have to sadly put you down on the counter here. You can hear the cranking motion. And it's basically destroying any clumps. It's incorporating the salt with the flour. And any hard bits are being either pulverized or will end up staying in the, yeah. So to show you like what got sifted out, like those are hard bits of flour that may have been like exposed to moisture or just were not, you know, when they pulverized to make the flour, were not properly destroyed in the process. Let me just put that in the sink. And that's our flour salt mixture. Okay. With pastry blender. That's what this is. Okay, so we're going to add our 2/3 of a cup of shortening to the flour. I wish like I should have brought my top down. But let me just grab my, so you can see that part. So I've just got my 2/3 of a cup over here. And opening up my Crisco. So there's all sorts of kinds of Crisco. I got the all vegetable one, which has no meat or, you know, animal byproduct in it. Like there's no butter in it. There's no, you know, nothing, no additives that would be detrimental to a vegetarian or a vegan like myself. So if you just stick with the all vegetable, you should be fine. I have tried this with coconut oil, you know, because coconut oil has like that consistency of shortening, and it gets like rock hard. It just doesn't make the best pie crust. Like you want it to be flaky. You don't want it to be like, you should be able to cut through it with a knife and not have to like use a chainsaw. I will show you though in a future video how I make protein bars using coconut oil, like the emulsified coconut oil though, if you want. I have plenty of recipes to share. So basically it's 2 of these is what we're gonna cut into our bowl. And I will be able to mix it with one hand because the pastry blender is a one-hand operation. So, all right. Just gonna grab another 1/3 of a cup. And you want it to be level, so you really want to pack that in there. Like, don't be loosey-goosey with your measurements because it won't create the shell. Like, you want it to have the structure of a full, 1/3 of a cup, 2/3 of a cup total. Okay, another pack. If you are allergic to soybean or have low tolerance for soybean, I don't have a working alternative. The all vegetable does have soybean in it. And I have not found a positive alternative because I've tried like emulsifying avocado oil or purchasing coconut oil, and like it does work, but it's not going to be flaky. It's not going to be the, very traditional. It's pretty, it comes out pretty dense and hard. and like definitely hard to cut. But once like the pie, once the innards, like it's not quite a custard. It's like a frothy innard. Once it's actually baked though, you could technically eat like pumpkin pie, shoofly pie, things like that without the pie crust. Like you could eat, you know, like it's not 100% necessary, but if you're wanting traditional, then yeah, I have not found a healthy alternative for that. So we're just going to kind of mash, like, gonna hold it, you're gonna like mash down and turn and shake out anything that ends up in the, so it's kind of like like you're kneading it, you're kind of cutting into it on an angle and like turning it. So first we're going to mash it down and like do that kind of mixing until it is about like the size of like peas, like a frozen peas consistency. Just gonna sit you down. I'll try and tilt it. Yeah, I'll try to tilt it a little bit. Actually, I'll tilt it this way because it's got a longer. So you just want to mash it so that like it's thoroughly incorporated through the flour, so there isn't like dry pools of flour that don't have shortening incorporated. Let me just get a knife so that I can get this little bit that's kind of stuck to the side of my we'll go through like forks and knives and spoons and like pretty, you know, just grabbing random stuff every time you make a pie. Because it's like, oh, I need a thing, and you just like, it's always, for whatever reason, you're always baking right near the flatware and not near the junk drawer that has all the different sorts of, you know, odds and ends. So you'll go through like just a random array of dinner forks, dinner knives, and, you know, spoons as you go through baking, and that's just part of baking, you know. You grab whatever you can to do whatever the job is that you need in the moment. All right, I think pretty good. So you can see like it's thoroughly mixed in. Don't think I have any dry pockets. Let me just scan the bottom, see if I have anything that's clinging to the base of the bowl. I do have a wooden bowl, but it's more of like a salad bowl situation, so it's not very deep. It's like super wide. The circumference of it is super wide, but it's actually pretty shallow. A wooden bowl would be more ideal for this kind of situation. I don't know why. Like, it's almost like wooden spoons. Like, they just do something. I don't know if they incorporate air because of, like, using a fibrous material, like using a wooden, like my rolling pin is wooden, and I just have way better success using wooden things versus like stainless steel or plastic, or, you know, I don't know what it is about wooden items. Whereas the opposite is true for resin. You kind of want to stay away from wooden things because there is air trapped in the fibers. So when you're mixing something up, like mixing resin or paint up with like a popsicle stick, it can introduce bubbles. So you definitely want to stay away from that when you're crafting. Okay, just put that aside. All right, so now we're going to slowly add, this is ice water, just like a little bowl. They say between 5 and 7 tablespoons of cold water. I just go with what I need. Like, it may take 8, you know, and it may take 4. You never know, because it depends on, because I live in Florida, so humidity is a thing here. And I may not need all of the water, like I may not need 5, but if it's a drier day, I may need 8, tablespoons of water. So I kind of just fill up one of these glass bowls, these little glass sauce bowls, and slowly, you have to add it slowly anyway, a tablespoon at a time. So, I think it's a tablespoon at a time, right? Let me just double check. Yep, tablespoon at a time. So you're just going to, so you just like dip it in, let it fill up, and sprinkle it in. Okay. And then I usually just continue with, using my tool to mash it until it starts sticking to itself. Then you can switch over to using your hands or a fork or whatever you are most comfortable with. Of course, I cleaned my hands, washed my hands thoroughly before starting this, and then tied my hair back, braided it and tied it back so no, nothing is free to fall anywhere. Okay. Still pretty dry, so that was 1. When it starts getting stuck in the wires of the tool, that's when it's time to move over to using your hands or using alternative. You can use a fork, you can use this wooden spoon is a good one, or just your hands. And you'll feel the density, the change in the density as you're mashing into it. I think I'll probably get away with 1 more tablespoon using the tool. The more you cut into it before you start mashing it, before you start rolling it up into a ball, the airier and flakier your crust will be. So that's why I'm still continuing to use the pastry blender. But I think I only have, you can see how it's sticking. I probably only have about 1 more tablespoon of cold water before it becomes impossible to use that tool anymore. Okay, so that's 3. Yeah, now it's kind of fighting at me. Okay, so I'm gonna clean my pastry blender off and switch to use my hand. So that's 3 tablespoons of water. Okay. So to show you the turning method, basically the same thing that I was doing when I was cutting, going in, twist, drop. You can see it's starting to form already and starting to stick to itself. And that's what you want. I want to make sure I get like down like all the way to the bottom of the bowl, so it's not like I'll be turning this out and then there'll be like, you know, a ring of flour that didn't get incorporated at the bottom. Okay, so that's what 3 tablespoons looks like. Go for another one. Okay. Ooh, chili. I mean, I can feel it sticking to itself. Like you can see it forming, starting to form, but it's still pretty loose, and it's not completely sticking. Like it's not, doesn't have like a sticky texture, so I think it'll fall apart pretty easily. So that was 4, right? So let's see what 5 looks like. Much better. I think we're only 6 at the most. Yeah, there's pretty good. It's pretty, you know, it's holding together pretty well for the most part. There's just a couple stragglers. You can see like a couple stragglers here that aren't sticking with the rest of the group. But it's actually coming together really well. I just think like 1 more. So 6, I think, is the magic number for today. Yeah, so you can see that most of it has come together. There's just like really the outskirts of like a couple crumbles. So I'm just going to specifically hit those around the edge of my bowl. So 6. 5 to 7, that's accurate. 6, nice happy medium number. And so you just want to keep like doing this until you no longer feel like the coldness of the water, and bring your dough together. 6, maybe 7. It feels like I should be able to incorporate. So now we're going to start kneading it a little to get it into a shape. The reason I'm doing this now is because it has to chill for hours before we can use it, before we can roll it out and use it in the pie. I'm actually going to add that last tablespoon because I do still have a couple stragglers that I'm having a really hard time in getting into the, oh, this is like 6.5. Okay, so 7 tablespoons of water, ice cold water specifically. Kind of have you resting on the side of my bowl as I'm my players are like texting me stuff like, I can totally see this in your house. You should get this. I was like, okay, I'll look in a minute. Recording. Yes. So you can see it's definitely come together. When I take it out, I'll be able to knead this into a nice shape. So what I'm going to do at this point is just take it out, get it into a nice bowl, like ball shape, and wrap it in saran wrap. And then I'm going to chill it. I want to see how long they recommend chilling the dough. It's usually 2 hours, typically. It just says chill. It doesn't say for how long. Wait, does it really not say for how long? I usually chill it for 2 hours. So I'm going to go with that. Let me just put you guys down. And I'm just going to make sure that all of it is together. Get it into a nice ball shape. Get my other hand in here. So a couple crumbles are falling off. Just gotta mash those in. Get this all together. Okay. You can see, like, you know, night and day. Night and day consistency. And that's just ice cold water and shortening and flour. like a tablespoon teaspoon of salt. 2/3 cup of all vegetable Crisco. 2 cups of flour and 7 tablespoons of ice cold water. And that's it. Alright, let me get my plastic wrap out. Okay. I have wrapped it in like parchment and other things before, but plastic wrap is really just the best. I find that parchment dries it out. I mean, parchment is good for certain things. Like, parchment is really good for cookie dough because it does remove excess moisture. So if you're concerned, you know, that your dough is, like, I would say anything that you have a recipe and your dough comes out and you're concerned that there's, like, too much moisture or wetness to your dough, wrap it in parchment paper instead of plastic wrap. Because it will absorb excess water. Okay, just gonna put this down on my workbench here, and just going to switch you over to the plastic. Okay. All the excess out that you need. Okay. So that's all out of the bowl. And we're gonna wrap it taut. And we're actually gonna do it this way and then also wrap it in the opposite direction. But I want to definitely make sure that it stays like almost like a ball shape. So what I tend to do is just scrunch it, scrunch it as I wrap it. Don't be concerned with the ends because I'm going to wrap it the other way around. Come on, Saran, you're killing me. Come on, Smalls. It's popping out of the box. Oh man, it stuck to itself. Okay. Okie. All right. Put that on there. This here. Tightly roll that up. And what I tend to do is put it back in the bowl and put the lid bowl in the fridge. So you just got your dough here, And I tend to put it back in the bowl in which I mixed and put the whole thing in the fridge. And I'm just going to chill this for 2 hours, and I'll be back to work in the pie some more. We're going to roll it out next on our wooden crust, pie crust. What's nice is this is a Williams-Sonoma rolling pin. It has these guides that link on, so it has depth on the discs. So we're doing a 1/4 inch thick crust. So it will guide, it won't make it too thin. And then we're going for 8 to 9 inch pie crust size. So we know based on the design on the butcher block to make it this size. What's nice is this flips over and you can it actually hangs and locks against your counter. And it also flips over if you want a cutting board, a butcher block cutting board without all of the measurement things on the side, is on the flip side. But I mostly use it for pies. It's been a while. But I will be back, and we will do stage 2 of creating the Shoofly pie. Okay, I think I got a good setup. Maybe. We'll see if gravity is unkind. But got my dough out. Take off the first one. I'm actually going to then grab some flour. I'm going to put flour down on my workspace here before dropping the dough down. Okay, just give it a nice once over. And even though I'm only going to between this and this line, I'm going to do the whole surface because it doesn't roll out in a perfect circle. Rarely. There we go. Get that all situated. I'm going to keep the flour out. It's still a little crumbly. So I'm gonna get some flour all over this bad boy. And then before I start rolling, I'm gonna get some flour all over my rolling pin so it doesn't stick to the dough. It's a little crumbly. Might add more cold water to this mixture. I'm a little nervous because it's pretty crumbly still. Just see this. It could be the weather here. Let me just grab some ice water. This is 8 tablespoons. That's kind of what I was mentioning earlier. You never know. It says 5 to 7, but it's always good to have extra. You may not need as much, you may need more, because it depends on the humidity, temperature in your room, humidity level of your environment. You live in a more humid state. Too much water can make your dough really complicated. Oh, this is much better. Yeah, it sort of dried out a little in the fridge. I might have the temperature set for too cold. Much better. Much more of a pliable. Kind of want it to be best way to describe it is like Play-Doh. Not so much clay. You don't want that. You don't want the density of clay. But more of a like drier than cookie dough. More like a Play-Doh. Yeah, it's better. But you don't want it to be as crumbly as it was a second ago. And that's the difference that a tablespoon of water made, was going from crumbly to a more pliable. You don't want it to stick either, so you want to keep, as you roll, you want to pick it up, turn it a bit, and see how it's like the moisture is getting into the board. So we want to put more flour down so we don't get sticking on our spot. Basically, you can tell it's not 1/4 inch thick because the rollers on the sides of the rolling pin are not flush with the tabletop as of yet. That's a little crumbly right there. Yep, some traction. I'm going to start making it into circle. I'm kind of bringing spots together that were out of whack. So you can hear it hitting on either side now. So I work the dough. Oh, come on now. Stick. Don't you dare. Okay. You can see all the flour's gone from here. Just gotta keep working it in. Together. Okay. Doesn't have to be perfect. You want it to be bigger than your pie plate. And whatever's over, you trim, and you can cram back onto your, like we've got a little bit of a gap right here. Come on now. This thing is absorbing my flour left and right. It's kind of crazy. There we go. Just don't want it sticking. tail end. I can feel the guides hitting the wood. Just a last ditch effort. Kind of push out the shape. Sticking. There we go. It's like I was hoping not to have to flour it again because it is getting drier with each sprinkle. Don't worry about that. So we can take here, do a little patch. Just gonna grab a smidge of water. It's sticking. Oh, it's sticking. Yeah, it's fixing itself up. Patch. Okay. We're good to go. We're there. Okay, let's see. Yep, and we're there. I'm just trying to get it off the the top. Just want to keep kind of pushing it to try and get it to slide off the. There we go. There we go. All right. Just get a spatula. Quick. Spatula under. Get my hand under there. Okay. Flip. You can see like all this overpour on this, that's just going to be trimmed off. And then, oh, you know what? I should get out my pie presses to finish off the edge. Rolling pin is good too if you're in the if you use the metric system. It has on the it's removable. It comes with a bunch of different thicknesses, and so you just like unscrew this eventually. And this Millennium. There we go. It has 1/4 inch on one side. You can see that 1/4 inch fraction. It also has the millimeters, 6 millimeters on the back. I mean, let's see if we can see it better. Some flower action. 6 millimeter. ¼ inch. And you just put it on here and screw it back on to create your rolling pin. You don't have to use these. These are just a guide, especially if you're going for a specific thickness. But you can use it without these guides on if you want to, and you just want to use it for a wooden rolling pin. Okay, I don't have a whole lot of pie crust left, but I'll be right back because I want to try using these cutters that I have that I got on clearance from Williams-Sonoma after Thanksgiving. I think I got them a couple years ago, but I'm sure they still have something comparable. I do have Christmas ones, so I think I might grab those. But I need to roll this clump back out. So I'll be right back in a second while I go grab those bad boys. Let's put this aside for now. Be right back. The one thing I'm organized with is my baking stuff. Everything is always exactly where I expect it to be. And I keep it in original packaging. So, when I store it. Alright. So, when it's small. Obviously, if it's a baking, you know, like a cake plate or something, it's just a cake plate. But everything has a spot. Okay, this is a little dry after, you know, being in the thick of it. So I'm just going to drop it into my little water spot that I had in this bowl. Try to reconstitute the clay. It's a little wet, that's okay, because I'm going to put the flour down. Work it onto my dough. Okay, safety. We're going for as little cracking as possible. This is going to be sculpting of some kind. A lot of flour is kind of lost in this process. It's kind of wasted. I mean, it's not wasted because it's useful, but it's not consumed. And it makes a mess. So if you are if everything has to be neat and clean in your kitchen, this is definitely not the type of baking that's for you. Okay. Stick that there. All right. Alright, what do we want? Gingerbread man here? What do we think? It's gonna look cool. I definitely don't want to do reindeer because I remember that is a pain in the butt. It's just too fine for this type of... It works fine for shortbread, but for these are designed for pies. It's good for holes, making holes in like cover pies, but as far as doing cutouts, not so much. Just wash my hands real quick just to get some of the stick off. Any bags? No, just a minute. Alright, so I'm thinking I'll alternate between Snowflake and Gingerbread Man. Maybe if I only have like a couple parts left, I'll do a leafy. So first you're gonna plunge it down to create the cut, and then you're gonna push this little button here and then pull it up. Take off the excess, use the button to push it out. It makes a little gingerbread man. Okay. And we're going to use our water. Just put a little water on the edge and press them down. So you got the gingerbread man on the top, on the edge. All right, let's get a snowflake. Snowflake's probably my favorite. Gingerbread's cute. A couple inches through. Just press it. Doesn't have to be like affixed. Just has to be pressed down. A smidge. Yeah, maybe I'll get a leaf in here. So I feel like I could utilize some of this. To get some leaf action. It's a nice thin cutter. It's not going to be perfect. We're going to eat this thing. It just has to be interesting. Okay, I'm gonna grab from here. Okay. Gingerbread man. And snowflake. Gingerbread man over here. Basically just trying to get it into the dough. Might not make it all the way around, that's okay. Just wanted to make it a little extra and not just a hard edge. Just a little something fun. Okay. Let's forgot to do the little design. All right. Okay. We might make it. I'm gonna re-roll this last little bit. I think if we get another leaf and a snowflake out of it, and we'll be all the way around. There's plenty of pie crust left to work. Might even, you know, roll out some berries or something to stick in between. It's plenty. It's like a pie's tart worth. Okay, just lift this gently out of the way. A leaf and a snowflake. Blue. Okay, and then just maybe make a couple smaller. Between spots that like have too big of a space. Dry. Can I do that? Maybe I'll just leave it the way it is. Ooh, got a smooshed face. Yeah, I'll just leave it the way it is. I think the berries would be excessive at this point. So a little extra left over. Yeah, I don't know that I want to try and cram anything in between those spots, so I'm just gonna leave them. Anyway, that is our crust. actually. There's a little weak spot in the center of my crust. I don't know if you can see that little crack right there. So I'm going to use some of this and some water to patch that up in that spot. Just make a pliable piece and just work it in to reinforce that spot. My pie crust. Blur out the sides. So there's no breaks in the bottom, you know, that because it's a very liquidy pie that's going in here before the crumb crust, before the crumb goes on top. It's as it bakes, it becomes almost like a froth. And just like a little patch job. Not the prettiest, but that's all getting covered with pie, so you're the only ones that know about it. Alright, I'm going to clean up, and we're going to come back with mixing the ingredients that are going inside this pie. Okay, we're back. I'm going to actually preheat my oven to 375 degrees. So we'll just get that going. So it's going to be kind of a quick thing. Not a lot of ingredients in the pie filling. Okay, so together in here, in the one bowl, so let me grab, okay, we need, we're going to mix together flour, sugar, and 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda. Okay, so flour, 1.5 cups. I'm actually going to use, I'll use the 1 cup, and then the halfer. So 1.5 cups is going into, let me get this more on camera there. I kind of want to sift it. So mix together flour, sugar, and baking soda. Yeah. So I'm gonna sift it, the flour, and then we'll add those things. So 1.5. The 1. Okay, that's a halfie. So you see how like clumpy it is? So all this does is turns it and puts it through like this kind of sieve that's at the bottom. Very like old-fashioned-y, vintage, like way older than vintage. It's probably antique at this point. I inherited this thing. They make mechanical ones that like have like a trigger in the handle, like, and you like go like this. My mother had one of them actually, and I have no idea where it ended up. Like one of my siblings moved out and took it or whatever, but I ended up getting gifted that one. But I do know it was like from a family member, and it was, you know, inherited bakeware. Okay, so 1/2 cup of sugar. So what I'm gonna do is, historically my family has not used like sugar for this. They've used brown sugar, but off the top of my head, and I cannot find the original recipe we got from Lancaster, but let's go to the fridge actually. we use brown sugar. I can't remember the light or the dark. So I'm gonna do half and half. So I did, when I ordered online, to have, you know, groceries delivered for this pie, the light was in stock, but it said that it sells out pretty fast. So I put them both in my cart, and I thought, well, if this gets sold out and I miss out, then I'll just, you know, work with the dark. If you do too much dark brown sugar, though, it does create a very dark pie. So I'm thinking, since it's only half a cup of sugar, if I do 1/4 cup light, 1/4 cup dark, we should be good. It should be fine and dandy. Now, brown sugar is fun because it's like softer than your granulated. Okay, so there's a light. Just add this up. Okay, and then 1/4 cup of dark. Go. And see how it holds its shape? That's the difference. Set those aside. And then I need a 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda, which I specifically bought this recipe and beyond. I might do a couple. I really love to bake, and I kind of got out of the habit that I'm kind of thinking of making this a normal thing that I do on YouTube, just because I kind of miss it, you know. The pandemic really, I mean, you think I would have been doing more of the things that I loved when I was at home, but I was at home working so much that a lot of things that used to bring me joy kind of became like stressful to try and fit it into my schedule. So I gave up a lot of things that, you know, previously had been my favorites. Actually, I'm gonna take that out of that box because it doesn't reseal. So there is something to be said for resealing containers. I'm gonna put them in a Ziploc so it doesn't get any moisture happening. Work. Come on. Come on, sir. Thank you. Wait. Alright. Psycho. It's got like really big. Oh, there we go. Wait, that did not close. Oh, I must have forced it open the wrong way. That's weird. Weird. Alright. That recycling. Alright. Okay, so we've got our dry things in. Alright, let me just pastry knife in this aspect as well, because we're going to be cutting in some butter into the mixture, and it might be easier You don't want to use a mixer for this. Like, use a fork if you don't have one of these. You want to use something that will break up, but we're making a crumbly, this is a crumbled mixture, so you don't want to do it with a stand mixer because it's going to blend it too hard and make it too much of a dough once you add the butter to it. I'm using plant-based country crock. I don't know, did I get that on the camera? Okay, quarter of a cup. So, quarter of a cup, 1/3 of a cup, 1/2 of a cup. So so 1 stick is 1/2 a cup. Yes. All right. So on one of the sides it had 1/2 a stick is 1/4 of a cup. All right. Probably going to grab my sharp knife that I cleaned. Feeling it'll be easier just to cut it while it's in the wrapper still. There. And I'm going to find the opening. There it is. Get that in there. The rest in my butter dish in my refrigerator. All right. This is pretty much straightforward. Mix it up. Anything that's stuck in the spots. Make sure I break up all this butter. This looks pretty good. Has that nice organic colorant. I think that's another reason why I don't like using, well, obviously, what makes flour white, they call it the bleaching process, and it's where they use marrow or like bone to bleach it. And if you're a vegetarian and you're a vegan, you're not using animals. You know, you're not using animals and animal byproducts or animal parts in your baking, like you use pectin instead of gelatin, things like that. So pectin comes from fruit, like it's a fruit-based thing. I think it comes from the seeds, actually, instead of animal bones. All right, so that's our dry mixture. All right. Okay. Setting this aside as the dry mixture. Then in my KitchenAid, I'm going to plug it in. Yeah, that's my oven telling me it's ready. So in my KitchenAid, Well, first thing I'm going to do is heat up this half a cup of water in my microwave. Just do a minute for now. Okay, so in my KitchenAid, I'm going to stir together the molasses, another quarter of a teaspoon of baking soda, and hot water. So half a cup of molasses. Okay. Ooh, this smells good. Look at that dark color. It's actually just classic molasses. It's not light or dark specific. I've never actually, I don't remember ever seeing or using dark or light molasses specifically. I'll pour that into my mixing bowl. Actually thinking maybe I should use a whisk attachment rather than the paddle, since this is all mostly liquid based and I want it to be frothy. It does have a slight almost like cough syrup texture, you know, like it's not a solid, not a gel, but it's not really a liquid. It's like an ooze, if you will. It's like a uncomfortable ooze that smells really yummy. Alright, let me just get my whisk attachment. I feel like this is going to be more helpful to me in this instance. I can get it on, of course. Alright, see, that is hot. Yep. Alright. Half a cup of water going in. And then for fizz, I'm gonna just, there was a little bit left in my measuring cup, so I'm just gonna get a little extra molasses out of the container. I'm just gonna set this there. Okay, and then a quarter teaspoon of baking soda to get that chemical reaction going. Just gonna chunk on it. Okay. Fizz. We have fizz. All right. And I'm just going to mix this together. Lock. Gonna do it for, I'm watching it incorporate. I just want to make sure it's not, like I want it to be a solid color. I don't want it to look like it has like a syrup floating in water. So just want to make sure it's properly mixed. So we're gonna do third of the molasses mixture. That's good. I'll show you what it looks like. it's not. That's what it is. All right, so we have, how much do we have here? I wonder, as far as measurements go. I don't have a measuring cup, interestingly. I don't own one. It's kind of wild when you think about it. But we want to pour 1/3 of it into our pie crust. So I need to put it in something so that I can get I know what I'll use. I guess technically I do have a measuring cup. I have a coffee carafe that I could just wash out. I mean, you know, whatever works. Just pour this in. So it makes about 2 cups. So it's about 2 cups. I'll just check. Yeah, it's about 2 cups. So let's see. 2 cups split in half is 1 cup. So 3 into 2. What is 1/3 of 2? No, like it's not going to be an easily measured thing. You know what? I might just wing it. Let's see. We'll use where's my 1/3 of a cup? 1/3 of a cup, 1/3 of a cup. I don't know where my 1/3 of a cup measuring spoon went to, but we'll just use a 1/4 for now, and we're gonna wing it. If you want it, the white dots are fine. That's just flour that's condensed on the surface. I'm going to take it's going to be a little more than this, but it's not quite 2 cups. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just put it in so that it fills the bottom of the pie plate. Maybe just a little bit more on that little patch. That's our little patch. All right. Just winging it. We're going to then put in some of the crumb on top. Just sprinkle it on. So that it's covering our first layer. And again, more of this. You're gonna like kind of layer it in. It's obviously not gonna sit on top, but it's to get this dry portion in with the mixture, but without having to like stir it, essentially. More. Okay. And put the rest in that I want to drizzle it in. We want to end with the crumb on top. Okay, just let that absorb a little bit. Get in there. All right. third of a cup ended up. And there's a little extra left in my bowl, so I'm just going to grab that. Drizzle that in. There's a little extra left in here. Let's get that last little bit of drizzle. Mountain that in the center, a little island, and then push it out. You can use a spoon if you don't want to use, your fingers and the like. You just want to make sure it sits on top. You don't want to push it into the liquid. You want it to be on top of the, like resting on top. Okay. All right. Okay. Make sure I bake 375 for 40 minutes. So I'm going to put it in the oven now. Man, there's so much stuff in my sink. So glad I did dishes before, but now I got to find places for those to dry while this one is baking up. All right. So I'm going to put this in the oven for 40 minutes and come back when it's ready to come out. I have this pie guard, just protecting the edge, all the little cutout pieces from getting burnt. But it'll still brown. It still allows heat to enter the ring, just not the direct contact with the heat source. So it'll still bake and puff up, but it won't get burnt on the singed from the heat source in the oven. But yeah, I'll be right back in 40 minutes or so. Okay, first off, my kitchen smells amazing. It's just so yummy smelling inside. It's not really picking it up on camera, but it's like a golden brown all the way around. That is not a big deal, that crack, that's normal. Like you want it to break up and be like crumbly when you cut into it, but it has to completely cool, and then you have to refrigerate it before you serve it. It's not something you want to serve hot. It's not a hot pie. And so this is the book, in case you were looking into wanting to get this recipe book. So it's the Better Homes and Gardens Heritage Cookbook. It was actually gifted to me by my mom, who found it in, I want to say a Ross. Like, like over, in the kitchen section. It was either a Bell's Outlet, but I'm pretty sure it was a Ross. But it was just, in amongst all the kitchenware things and books and stuff. But that's where she found it years ago. But, and I think it was like $40-something. So it was not, it was not a small, it may have been 50, with tax and everything. But it was not a small investment, but it is an excellent cookbook. But yeah, so that is it. That's my shoofly pie. So it's got to cool completely so it doesn't sweat in the refrigerator. You don't put plastic wrap on this. You put foil over top. You can also use like butcher paper. Not quite parchment, it's a little bit thicker if you want to. But foil is recommended, and then generally I refrigerate overnight, and then it's served not cold, like you can take it out of the fridge and serve it room temperature kind of a thing, but it's definitely not something you want to slice into when it's hot. It's not that kind of pie. But yeah, we'll slice into it probably tomorrow, and quite enjoy ourselves, I'm sure. But thanks for hanging out with me today for Vlogmas, and I will see you tomorrow with my next whatever I'm gonna do.